Remember last week when I said there was a lot of slam metal albums that dropped? Well, it was like that this week with thrash metal albums. We're shouting out those, plus a diverse group of other fantastic metal albums. Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, John Barbas. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for this week's album art of the week. It's the weekend. Y'all know what that means. New metal albums dropped, and I'm bringing you my top 5. But before we jump into the top 5, let's talk about a couple of the big releases this week. We get a new album from Infected Rain called Time. And all I got to say about this is Lena Scissorhands. There's also a new album from the last 10 seconds of life called No Name Graves. And all I got to say about this Deathcore album is Roar Hammer. And lastly, before we do the top 5, there's a new album from Chelsea Wolfe called She Calls Out To, She. And this is folky doom / industrial with a little bit of trip hop in there. It's not really all that heavy, but it is eerie and unsettling and beautiful. So if you want something that's like a vibe, but also, be a good little warm up before the brutality. All right, here we go. Coming in at number 5, Bone Jammer with Another Day in Paradise. This is thrash metal mixed with punk coming out of Denmark. And I gotta tell you, growing up, I never really got into punk all that much because I was in the metal and I wanted the more technical, guitar heavy music. But I always liked the attitude and the aesthetic of punk. So when these metal bands embrace the punk influences but still give me the guitar work that I crave, it's just exactly what a guy like me needs. Coming in at number 4, and this one's a fun one for me. This is from Heretic. The name of the record is Filthy Hymns for Sleazy Demons. I love that album title, especially for this black and roll band out of the Netherlands. This, as the genre implies, is a rock and roll record, so it's got that fun energy, but it's also got a lot of black metal influence, so it's got that macabre darkness to it, but it doesn't take itself so seriously like a lot of the more pretentious black metal does. As I said, it's fun rock and roll, a fun record to listen to, excellent album title. I love this one, check it out. Coming in at number 3, Spectral Voice with Sparagmus. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Text on the screen just in case, and as always, every band's Bandcamp link will be in the description so that they're easy to find. This is Death Doom out of Denver. There's a tongue twister for you, and it's super eerie and filthy and unsettling, but it gives you that slow stank face. I typically like my metal to be quite a bit faster than this, but it's just the art of this one. It's just so good. It overcame my preferences, shall we say, which means it's gotta be this. Coming in at number 2, Holder with Verses in Oath, black metal out of Washington. And I was privileged to get my hands on this one early. Y'all know what that means. That means my written review is already published in Metal Digest as we speak. Links in the description to all my writings. And what I said about this one is I love how it's got that frigid sort of ferocity that all of their black metal peers have, but then there's these great interludes in between. So it makes it feel like it's a journey going someplace in particular instead of just non-stop tremolo picking and shrieking. I feel like there's a purpose to this one. It might be that the excellent recording and song order has something to do with that. It also might be that the vocals are less shrieky and more growly. Y'all know I love that. There's just so much to like here, especially the multiple instrumentation. It could really be at home on like a fantasy game soundtrack, except for when the real metal starts, and then it's just insane. Check it out. Now, normally this is the spot in the episode where I do the call to action requesting likes and subscribes, especially since liking helps spread the message about the bands. But this week I want to do something a little bit different because something a little bit different happened to me and I want to share it with you all. You might remember last September I did one of these top 5 episodes of the week and I shouted out the band Bullet Belt with their awesome album Burn It Up. I was really thrilled with that album, and after that episode we both followed each other on social media. By the way, links in the description to my social media, hint hint. And we've just sort of been cheering each other on social media ever since. And I posted a picture of my gym where I have all of my band flags, and the dudes in Bullet Belt were like, yo, you need a Bullet Belt flag. And I was like, hell yeah, I do. And not only did they send me a flag for my gym, they also sent me this sweet ass shirt. That's awesome. Shout out to Bullet Belt. I loved you before you sent me this stuff. Now I love you even more. So y'all go out and get the album Burn It Up from Bullet Belt because it rules. And apparently these dudes from New Zealand are also awesome. I know that shipping must not have been cheap. Thank you so much. Now let's do number 1. Coming in at number 1, Chapel of Disease with Echoes of Light. And this is progressive death metal out of Germany. Ja, das ist super. Let me tell you the story about this one. I'm going through the list of albums that are going to get released, and I see this one in the list, progressive death metal, and I think, yeah, I like progressive death metal. Let's check this one out. And it starts playing, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? It sounds like old rock and roll. And I didn't really catch the death metal until the dude started singing. And then I was like, oh man, this is like if Blue Oyster Cult had a dude that growled. And then of course, as the record proceeded, it opened up into more different types of metal, but just the novelty of it just blew me away. I love the sound of this so much. I love that they're not confined. They're not like, we're a death metal band, we gotta play death metal riffs. There's all kinds of guitar stuff going on here. As a matter of fact, if you liked my album of the year for 2023, Ontological Mysterium, then you'll probably like this as well, because it's got that sort of weirdness to it. But of course, they're metalheads, so they don't mind getting brutal every now and again. I love this one. That's why it's number 1. Check it out. And hey, we're not done yet. We still got to talk about this week's best album art. My favorite album art this week comes from Contaminated with Celebratory Beheading. That is an outstanding album title. Yo, something good happened in my life. Let's celebrate. How you want to celebrate? Let's behead some fools. Yeah, obviously this is death metal, but look at this album cover. You know, death metal has no shortage of gruesome album covers, but they're normally oil paintings or CGI. This is some, how would you call it? Practical effects. This is a real person holding a head. And also, this lady's kind of pretty. I know she just murdered that dude probably, but I think I can fix her. And speaking of brutal death metal, do you like it on the progressive and technical side? Because last week I interviewed Exocrine about their album Legend, which is about an evil god coming to the earth and how the humans behave in the face of their impending extinction. It was a very interesting and thought-provoking philosophical talk about death metal. So if you want to catch that, just click right here. But most importantly, read philosophy, listen to metal. I love you.